everybody. Welcome to CFOs Not Talking Finance, where we explore how finance leaders think, operate, and evolve, not just what they end up reporting. So, if you're building, scaling, or transforming anything, I think you'll find our episodes worth listening to. Today's guest is Mr. Antriksh Khurana, who is the CFO at Eclipse Investment LLC, which is part of the Zubair group of companies. He manages both operational and strategic finance for a large portfolio that spans multiple industries: real estate, chemicals, automotive, contracting, manufacturing, and FMCG even across the GCC, India, and Africa. And his purview includes treasury, M&A, as well as transformation. Earlier, he led finance across multiple hotels with some very memorable brands like Shangri-La, IHCL, Taj, earning industry recognition for implementing digital tools, automating finance operations, which is something we like to do as well, and transforming P&L performance. So I'm sure he must have dealt with VAT implementation in the Middle East and trying to handle an automotive agency during the pandemic. So you've clearly, Antriksh, repeatedly delivered during complex situations. Our conversation today would like to kind of delve in about all of that and try and understand a little bit about your journey. The first question being, I think your current role, right? It's quite widespread in terms of what you're looking at: real estate, chemical, and across different markets, right? So when you're sitting on top of such a mixed portfolio, how do you prioritize focus areas, right? What's your approach to managing both sector complexity as well as the geographic diversity?
Sure. Thank you, Chitra, and thank you for this very nice and detailed introduction. Honestly, some of the things you said I forgot actually in my life, so thank you for reminding me. Just to answer your first question, saying that how we manage. I'm a very process-oriented kind of a person. I very strongly believe that if your processes are in place and you keep testing them in time, your day-to-day becomes quite easy. And especially for the finance fraternity, it's very, very critical that we have a robust processes which are put in place across the places. And I think that has helped me to work across geographies, work across industries. Though when I come in the morning, we have a fixed schedule what needs to happen on that day. Yes, it keeps changing based on the priorities you have. But the process which gets defined is something which actually takes things forward. So that I think is one key for the element. Second key is also having a great team. See, to manage all this, I think it's very critical, and people have this habit of doing everything on their own. I believe very strongly in having a great team. So you need to have a mix of team, an experienced person, a very young guy, probably a fresher. You need to have a person who can think out of the box. So once you have a great team in place, I think that helps to distribute the work in an appropriate fashion. We have industries where you need somebody 24/7, like in hospitality. We have some operations where I don't need to see on a day-to-day basis, like oil and gas, which is a very process-driven industry. So you need to have a mixed bag of team. So it's not one size fit all. You need to get those people in line and in shape and work together with you. And as I said, going to the key first, your process needs to be defined properly done.
Understood. You mentioned hospitality, as being sort of operationally heavy. You need someone 24/7 and you need, constant monitoring. That's also an industry that tends to be margin sensitive. So is there something that hospitality as an industry taught you that particularly still applies now, even across, completely different industries?
See, I think, I did a pretty long career of mine in hospitality. I did about 15 years in hospitality across various countries. Now, hospitality has taught me two things. One, you need to be very focused on your margins. Very, very focused on your margins, because a slightest of change in the economic condition can actually make and break the P&L. So that's one thing. It's very sensitive industry, especially to where the world is moving today. So that is one thing it has taught me quite well. Second, it has also taught me that how you need to be very proactive in taking your actions. You cannot be waiting for a certain thing or event to happen and then you take actions. You need to be very, very proactive and on the job 24/7. That's why I have learned this habit of having a standing table from hospitality days, because then I just want to be on my toes all the times. So I think, yeah, that hospitality has played a very key role in teaching a lot of things how I manage, and especially when you see what's happening across the world today. Any event which happens even in Far East can impact what's happening in this part of the world. It is very, very critical that we are on our issues day in, day out. And I don't think so now any job has left 9 to 5. It has to be a 24/7 job. So I think that's where hospitality plays a key role. Though people still think it's not complex, I think it's quite complex in my view, that you will have to learn a lot of operational issues than of accounting issues.
Understood. And you mentioned being proactive and being on your toes 24/7. I mean, clearly that paid off, because you were awarded Finance Person of the Year in hospitality for all of the automation effort that you did bring out. I think in your Shangri-La days, right? You
Yes.
rolled out robotic process automations, which is now a big buzzword these days, but back then it was a little more of a visionary thing to adopt, because people wouldn't really focus on doing time and motion studies, figuring out where there are lags, figuring out where there is a scope for automation. It would just be as is processes that are kind of being done. You also, I think, implemented a digital HRMS and try to automate processes across multiple time zones. At that point, what was the toughest resistance you faced, if you did face something, and kind of how did you build credibility to push those changes through? This is the latter part of my question is more important, because there are a lot of finance leaders these days who want to make certain changes, but then they either find out that they are not decision makers, or that they probably cannot wield enough influence to see those decisions through.
See, I think it's not about even the days from my Shangri-La days when I started this somewhere in 2015-16, and eventually we implemented an RPA across the board. I think it is more of a mindset of people, correct? So wherever I have gone, I remember when I was in Africa and Zambia in 2009 and 10, I automated through an Excel macro and MIS. Okay, it might be a very small thing, but it solves a lot of problems. When I was in Goa, we actually centralized all the inventory to automation. Your requisitions comes to a central server, and I used to manage about 4 hotels sitting at one place, and with a very small team. The second issue is one is mindset of the person who has to do it. Second issue is you should start small. In my view, you should not start big. Yes, you have buzzwords today of AI, RPAs, SAPs, and across machine learning and all that. But if you want to make it big, you need to start small. So anytime I start doing something, I start with a very small thing and try to build it up. So even when we did an RPA or a HRMS or a DMS kind of a project for Shangri-La, we didn't start it with 14 hotels. We started with one small stream in one hotel. It took a lot of effort to implement it. But again, when you are you're doing something, it should be back of your mind that you can scale it very fast. When you do that, that's the point of time you buy in your stakeholders. You show them that, okay, I've not invested much. Maybe I invested $5,000 at that point of time, but I have given you these results. You constantly measure the results, what you are doing, and constantly try to engage your stakeholders. Don't expect that you will do, we have this issue in the finance function. We are very introvert. So we don't market ourselves well, correct? So we will implement something and we keep it to ourselves. Don't keep it to yourself. Try to engage with your stakeholders. That will change the mindset. See, everybody today, I think whether it's a CEO or whether it's a CEOs or general managers, they all want to automate. Nobody wants to sit down in his office and make reports and see all that, correct? But if you go and tell them, I'm going to create a shared service center, that's where I want to start with, that is the first rejection you're going to get. They need to see something small, deliver it, measure the result, and then start scaling it up. I think that's where I have seen my wins happening, and across all my, wherever I have worked, I have started doing that only. So, and don't think if you're doing something small is not worth it your time. I think the small things makes a lot of difference. So that's where I think somebody has to have that kind of mindset. And second, if you engage with your stakeholders, whether it's a shareholder, whether it's a CEO, whether it's a general manager, in fact your team, you need to bring everybody together in a room. I remember when we did, we did HRMS for Shangla. Shangla is a very process-oriented company, okay? And they have everything documented in one page. The biggest challenge they told me is that, okay, you want to bring an HRMS, but this is my process. I will not change this process. This is a stone-casted process across the group. We said, fine, don't change the process. I will change my HRMS to your process. But I will build on what you are doing manually into an automation. So I built on where they left. You cannot, the problem with all the automation is we want to change everything. For example, even in our current group, we did a SAP implementation across, I think about 20 odd entities in the last few years. And I was speaking to the implementation guys, and they all come up and say that, sir, this is SAP standard. For me, SAP has no standard. You need to give them what you want. Yes, there will be a best practice. You see how it aligns with you. If it aligns with you, fine. It doesn't align with you, you need to go back and tell SAP this is not going to work, or maybe the implementation guy, it's not going to work for me because I'm in a different environment. See, we run across the group about 11 sectors. Now, you cannot have one single process for 11 sectors. There are different sectors, different scales, different geographies, different regulations. So you need to make your processes like that. But if you become very rigid, typically finance guys have this problem, and in fact, IT guys have this problem. They become very rigid. No, sir, this is standard. There's nothing standard. In my opinion, today, I think, yes, 15 years back, everything was standard because companies were not so agile. But today, there's nothing standard. I think that's the key. You need to involve your shareholder, involve your teams. See, even the lowest guy in your team can make a difference. The lowest person in the pyramid, that can make a difference. But if you're not involving him, he doesn't care. He's saying this is a directive which has come from the top. You need to show him what the benefits are. Third, the issue I feel is a lot of people think automation will bring cost efficiency. Yes, it brings cost efficiency at a point of time, but not day one. Don't start with that mindset that it will bring cost efficiency, I will reduce 20 people. What we need to do is, we need to prove how my efficiency of a person will go up. He will have more spare time. Instead of doing a donkey's job where he's writing papers, I can utilize that person, that man hours, to do something better for the organization, for his own growth. But if you're going to tell him, no, I am going to reduce 3 people, I'm going to reduce 4 people, that's where it will get the first pushback from the lowest people in the pyramid. So I think there are a couple of things which needs to be managed when you do any kind of implementation in any setup.
I completely resonate with everything you've said, specifically about change management and having to, make sure that everybody's on the same page, especially when you're championing large initiatives, which kind of brings me to the next question. How has it been working, across so many different geographies, across India, the GCC, Africa, and not to mention that in addition to the people having very different working cultures, all of these geographies have very different banking systems, regulatory bodies, and control environments, right? So from a people perspective, from a treasury and compliance perspective, what's the playbook you've built to manage all of these, different market variations while still making sure that governance, as your main KPI as a CFO, governance is still being, tightly maintained?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's a great experience working in different geographies, correct? as you rightly mentioned, you have different nationalities with different perspective, with different way of working, different regulations, different compliances, different challenges across geographies and across sectors, not even across geographies. So I think the main thing is that you need to be very open to work with different people with different nationalities. You need to be open to listen to people. You don't know everything in the world. That's the first notion has to go out. When I go to Saudi, probably my GM in Saudi is more technical than I am. If I think I know more than him, that's the end of the story for me. So that's one part of it. How you manage yourself, that's very critical. You need to be open listening. That's number 2. Number 3 is you need to build your systems according to it. I think what we did over the last 4-5 years is that we started implementing SAP with obviously everything AI and machine learning on top of it. And I think that has given us a lot of leverage in terms of reporting and compliance. We were able to get through many of those issues which we were facing in past because of the manual reporting, manual discussions, emails. Those things we have come out in terms of SAP reportings. Now, for example, I don't want to tell you which it is, but there were times when my reporting used to happen at the end of the month. Now I close my reporting on 6th across the geographies. I think that's something which is very critical for us and gives us confidence that reporting is coming from the system. My trial balances are tallied. It goes into a certain group reporting platform. From that platform, it comes out on 6th. Somebody does a quick number verification. Yes, seems to be fine, and it goes out. So that whole automation has supported the group, I think, quite a lot, but there is still a long journey to be done. But just keeping it the same, the way it was, business as usual about 5 years back, I think you cannot manage it. There's no way you can manage compliance. There's no way you can manage things. So again, coming back to process, and the process needs to be implemented through the. And see, we are in a age where we are blessed with, I think, a lot of technology. I think when I started my career 21 years back, we didn't have so much technology. I remember when I started my career in 2004, the first thing I saw was an Oracle product which was getting implemented in Taj, and there was a lot of pushback. The pushback was largely because people didn't understand what it will do. And I saw that change happening in Taj between 2004 and 2011, that how it changed the way we work. I think people have not realized that what is happening, but what is happening today is that you are blessed with technology. You have an old system, you can put up an RPA on that, you can put up an AI, you can do a machine learning. There are various products available in the market. And I think when I started this journey, especially for example in RPA, I think the journey was largely with Big Fours. That time your EYs and KPMGs and Deloitte, they used to. Now you have a lot of people doing it at much cheaper prices. So I don't think so. I don't think so. Everybody needs to go implement an SAP. Correct? You can work on Microsoft Dynamics. It's a wonderful system, in my opinion. Correct? So when you talk about complex issues, and especially like for example treasury, I'll tell you what we did was we implemented something called Cashbox. Now, Cashbox is a solution which is on the top of SAP, but it's developed by somebody sitting in Jordan. And it is not developed in-house, it's not developed by SAP, but people have used that SAP reporting platform in such a beautiful manner that I have full control on my treasury across the entities. So I can see my reports, I can see my cash flows, I can see my debt position, I know when my debt has to be paid. Those things makes life very easy. Now today, we are not spending time collecting the report, formalizing it, reviewing it. We know the data is coming from the system. So we rely on that data. Okay, you do your random checks, but I think largely it falls in place. I think that's where we manage the whole treasury, M&A, or other stuff in the group.
Understood. Of course, now you are responsible for finance end to end, but there was something you mentioned about, early on in your career, in one of your roles where you had to handle finance independently, right? End to end. That's kind of a trial by fire generally, especially for people who are early on in their career. Did that teach you, or rather, what did it teach you about, the difference between knowing finance and then somehow finding yourself being responsible for it end to end?
Yeah, I think when I gave my first interview for my first job, and the person who was taking the interview, he told me, he said, Antriksh, you are a chartered accountant, you are a qualified accountant. I know you know debit credit. I know instead of chartered accountants is very tough on you guys. They will just 2% of people will pass and all that stuff. So I don't need to know that do you know debit and credit. What I want you to do is go one step down, do accounts payable, do accounts receivable, do cashiering, do reporting. He said, and he told me, he said, it's not because I don't believe in you or in your competency. I don't want people to fool you. So, there was a period when I did end to end. I used to work 18, 19 hours a day. Okay, that was an incident which happened and this went on for 6-7 months. Where in the night, I used to do something, we used to have something called night audit where revenues were fixed for the previous day. And then in the morning, I'll attend briefings. Then I'll go and do the payables. Then I'll go and do the AR. And I will do the cashiering also from the side. That taught me a lot of things because, it actually taught me that, what are the issues, what are the loopholes in the whole process, and I think that's where I got that whole thing of automating things, looking at the processes. Because if you're working 18 hours a day, there are two ways. Either you work smart or either you work hard. I like to work smart. I cannot have a situation where I'm just going to the room and sleeping in the night and again coming back. I'm not that kind of person. I like to have my own times. So I think even today's finance, people who pass out, they shy away working with these small things. They will say, why should I do accounts payable? Mind you, do it accounts payable, then only you will know what are the loopholes in accounts payable. Then only you will know even a good SAP system can be defeated by a substandard, quality of a person. So it's I think it's very, very critical. It teaches you a lot. But only thing is, it's about people. People shy away by doing all these things. And then again, see, I think you are in that field, so you will know. If you have to design a process, you should know what is that process. See, unfortunately, what happens in today's environment, a lot of people, especially qualified accountants, they want to become managers straight. And they want to start their journey from there. When you start journey from there, you don't know what is the process down. Because you get everything on a silver plate, right? So how you're going to design that process? Just by reading a book, it will not. See, I can tell you 500 ways how to make a mistake in payables. Second, I think from a leadership perspective, when your team knows that you know more than them, especially the team below you, in the lowest people on the pyramid again, they will give you that respect. So today also, in fact, last week I was having a debate with my accounts payable guy, and we were debating a very, very basic control. And he was debating with me, I was debating with him. He knew I knew what I was talking. I knew what he was talking. But eventually, if I don't have that debate with him and I go and tell him, I don't know, you do what you want, this has to be done, then he will never give you that respect. You will not form that team. You need to understand why he's working 18 hours a day. There's some issue, right? So you should not shy away with these small jobs or maybe the job which is much lower than your qualification. I think we should all do those things. I think that helps.
Yeah, no, I completely understand because, even during my articleship days, the type of things we did during auditing, we used to get our hands dirty. We wouldn't just get schedules directly from the client. We would actually sit with the client and understand how the transaction is going, and then get those schedules. But articles these days, I think MUS and sampling and vouching it's not something they want to do. They just directly want to do variance analysis. They directly want to do other things. So we have this challenge even while hiring people. Like you rightly pointed out, everybody wants to be a manager. Everybody wants to directly overview processes without actually being a part of any of the foundational transactional aspects. And it goes back to what you said, right? People are important. Like your debate with the AP process owner also, where you were talking about it. The reason you managed to have that healthy debate is both of you had very valid points of view, and it was just about finding a middle ground. But that kind of brings me back to another thing that you might have mentioned earlier is the importance of not depending on a single team or a single person, right? And that's essentially what you do in terms of striking the balance between building an empowering team, but still making sure that you step in as and when this is needed. So how do you handle team dynamics, and how do you kind of build a process that is independent of you, but at the same time, you can also kind of step in when needed?
See, again, it boils down to two things. One is how you do the process. If your process is strong enough, and I've seen in many occasions in a lot of our companies, I've seen that process is dependent on person. That's where the mistake happens. If that person is there, it will run perfect. If that person is not there, that's where the process will fail. It should be actually the other way out. It should be a process-driven thing. You should have documented saying A, B, C, D, it has to happen like this, then only it will get cleared. If that's the case, anybody can come and do the job. That's one. Second, I have told my team that you can get transferred any day from one place to another place. In fact, now I don't do that much because honestly I don't get time. But when I was in hospitality, I love to move people. So somebody doing accounts payable, next year you're going and doing accounts receivable, then you're doing cashiering, then you will go to stores, then you'll go to purchase. If I feel that I don't have anything for him, I will recommend him to be transferred to another unit. So I don't want people to think this is my home, this office belongs to me. Without me, nothing will work in this organization. And I have, in my view, and so people who have worked with me quite long, they know that I can fold my sleeves and work. I don't shy away with that. So they are very, to be honest, careful with me, saying that, okay, I cannot do this, I cannot do this. Again, set the process right, grow the people. See, I think when you move people around, they see the growth. For example, in one of our companies, there's one guy who's sitting in a chair for last 25 years. Has he grown in life? Answer is no. He has been in that place for 25 years. I think there is a problem either in the organization or in that person's competency. Why he's there for 25 years? And everybody says this guy goes, there will be a problem. I moved that guy, the first guy I moved when I took the position. I said, move this guy first. I don't want somebody where my process is dependent on person. I want person to be dependent on process. Chitra comes, Antriksh comes, anybody comes, he can do that job. It's as simple as this. Then I think you form a good team, you motivate them. They also think that this guy is trying to do something for us, and you actually do something better for the company.
Understood. Yeah, otherwise people who've been in that one position for too long end up taking their blind spots as just one other fact, right? Instead of something that has to be fixed or found a workaround.
And see, the problem, Chitra, what happens is people tend to start overlooking issues. See, there is an issue happening, and I'm not saying very negatively. Even if a best practice has to come, the person has to move. Because see, we as humans have tendency that I do everything right. So if I go and tell somebody that this is wrong, then he will say no. I've been doing this for 25 years. Then I have to tell him, boss, hold on. You're doing for 25 years, and you are in this position for 25 years. This is the problem. This is wrong. You need to move. Somebody else needs to come. Look from a fresh eye. Maybe that somebody else will bring a different perspective also. See, I've seen places where somebody was working for long enough, we had a certain set of way of doing things perfectly in time. You will see that things will come out at 8 o'clock in the morning, deadlines are met, guy will go home at 5 o'clock, no problem. I changed that guy and I was opposed why you're changing that guy. In fact, we promoted him and sent somewhere else. I said, let him go. He's been here for last 10 years. He's doing the same job. No, he's doing perfect. I said, yeah, he's doing perfect. But I think that position is not required only. I can distribute the work between 3 people and kill that position. And actually, I killed the position only. And that guy was promoted and somebody sent somebody else. And then later we realized that position was not required. Because he managed that position, his work so well, everybody thought without him, things will fall down. Things doesn't fall down with people. Organizations move. But only thing, if you don't have a process, it will backfire. That's where the whole thing comes to.
Right. Antriksh, both these stories you mentioned where one person has been there for 25 years and you had to move him, and the other story where someone's doing a great job seemingly for 5 years, but then, once you had a critical look at what this person is adding to the process, maybe, the work could have been distributed among 3 other people. I would like you to speak about not just your experience within the companies you've worked in, but just generally your perspective or comment on the finance function. Do you think the finance function plays too passive a role sometimes? And in that sense, if you do agree with that assessment, how are you pushing your teams to lean in more commercially?
Traditionally, finance function has been an accounting function, correct? We do debit credits. Yeah. That's a perception everybody has, and I think I remember when we started, the head of finance was called chief accountant, and the reason was that he was an accountant. That's a philosophy of it, correct? And I think today that designation has changed. We have become finance directors or group finance directors and chief financial officers. But that mindset is not changing. I think that's a very critical problem I see in the current, the younger generation in finance team which comes in. They still want to control the debit and credit. They are still very passive. I will see the report and tell you what is going on. My view is that we should a finance guy can be a good GM. I think he can be an excellent GM if he has a commercial mindset. But the problem is, unfortunately, our education system doesn't give you that commercial mindset. That you need to gain from outside. And I don't blame them, because you cannot have every subject in your chartered accountants, your ACCAs and all that stuff. But you need to gain, you need to have that edge of learning. You need to accept that I have done my qualification. I know my debit credit, my fundamentals of finance are very clear. Let me focus on something else. Let me learn the commercials of the place. That's where the finance guys take a step back. Oh, this is not my job. I should not. Or the other way out, which I have seen very largely, is that finance guys are only concerned about cost. My cost should not go up. I will cut the cost. I will manage the cost, maximum cash flows. Oh, where should I save money? If I don't pay a bill in fact, I heard this very recently by somebody very senior, and I know, with all due respect, the guy told me you should pay your suppliers you get your money in 90 days, you should pay your suppliers in 120 days. And I told him, I said, fine, if I do that, my cost or my margin shoots up by 1%. That has a much larger impact on my P&L than this issue, correct? The guy still is in that mindset, saying that, no, we are accountants, we need to save cost. Forget about margins. The margin is the issue of commercial. I said, no. Margins is your issue. You are creating an environment where you're telling your sales guys that this is how you're going to sell. Now, if that's the case, then that's not going to help the P&L. You need to take care of the P&L, the balance sheet. You need to take care of the dividends for the shareholders. You need to take care of what the return the company is going to give you. What is the return of investment for the shareholders? You don't need to get into what is my cost. You need to come out of that whole subject. So these are two things. One, the finance guys doesn't come out of debit credit. Second, if they come out, they go into the cost. I always tell finance guys, you go into the sales. And what's my net P&L? I think that's where finance teams are struggling. And I think more and more forums needs to happen. So I am part of some of the forums where I go. That should open their mind. Because the thing is, we work in very silos. We don't talk to people. You will see hardly any CFOs posting anything on LinkedIn. Right? I don't see much posting. You will see a lot of operations guys. Why? We have more, in my opinion, finance guys has more knowledge than somebody coming out of an MBA, with all due respect, correct? They have their own ways of things, but you have a lot of knowledge. If you start becoming commercial, you can become CEOs. And there are CEOs who are successful who were the finance guys, correct?
Yes.
So that's my view on this.
Right. And what you mentioned about finance, having to be mindful about margins and creating a framework for sales folks to operate in. I think it goes very well with your, one of your foundational principles that finance is not just a backbone. It's supposed to be the mind of the company, right? So with that, in place, you've also mentioned that on the personal front, cycling plays a big role in kind of helping you think. You've said that some of your toughest work decisions were processed while riding a bike, right? So why has cycling become a mental framework for you to kind of put your thoughts in order? And what kind of similar thinking time do you generally encourage your team to take up?
Yeah, to be honest, I was a very lazy person when I started my career. Though I played a lot of sports when I was in school, and I think over a period when I started my qualification studies and I got into the job, generally you have this habit, and I left everything. I think about 7 years back, I think 8 now, no, about 10 years back now, I had some major weight issues. So I started, somebody told me, said, you should start yoga. I said, okay, I started with. Then somebody said, you should start with gym. I started with gym. And then somebody said, why didn't you try cycling? Well, I've not done cycling, but let me try it out. So I started my biking in Muscat, and first few rounds, the first few days was really bad. Couldn't manage it. Then I realized that, if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot do anything either professionally or either for your personal friends. So I started biking, whatever I did for myself. And over a period, it has developed, I think, not as a sport. I don't do competitive biking. I'm not in the groups where I'll track. Okay, I track my statistics, but it's not for a competition. I learned that there are different ways and means for people to get, their mind together, their focus together. Some people look at, for example, meditation, or maybe a yoga, or probably people like to take a break, or probably people like to go for a hiking, or they play cricket. There are a lot of ways and means to do it. I think for me, what fit in was biking. The main reason was, when you're on a bike, let's say 2 hours on a bike, you don't have access to a phone, you cannot talk to anybody, you're on the road, you can just see nature, you can just think. So that's a point of time that 2 hours gives you a lot of thought process, what you can do. In fact, there are times when my mind is running with a lot of complex issues, professionally or personally, I tend to go biking 3:30 in the morning. I'll get up and go. When I go biking, when I come back, my thoughts are very clear. What I want to do. See, we work in an organization where we'll have to work on structures and all that stuff. Sometimes you're not able to put up your mind to it that what exactly you want, correct? And when I go spend that 2 hours or 1 hour on the bike, I actually, when I came back, and this has happened every time, this is not the first time. Every time I go, I come back with a solution. Yes, this can be done. This is how I'm going to convince my stakeholders. This is the pitch I'm going to do. This is the what I need to do, step 1, step 2, step 3, to come to that final thing which I want to achieve. I think every person, irrespective of whatever, we should have our, I'll say, activity of peace. Now, it can be anything. For me, it's biking. For some people, it can be even meditation. For some people, it can be watching TV also. So this can be different things. But you need to find where you get that peace and where you get time to think about yourself, other than taking out your emails and keeping your phone on the side, watching your Facebook reels, and you need to keep those things out and then think that exactly what you can do and what you cannot. I think that's very important. I tell all my team members, please find one thing for yourself. And I think if it's a sport, then it helps you to be healthy. If it's not a sport, it's not a sport, but you need to find that peace for yourself.
Right, something that puts you in that flow state where thoughts come, clearly to you, and you can put things in order in your brain.
You're not distracted, basically. You can think through very clearly. And see, for me, especially because I do biking in the morning, I do very early morning bikings. So at that point of time, you have nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You're alone. You can think about yourself. You can think about your problems. You can think what you want to do in life. And I think it helps. I think we all have solution in our head, but we are too busy with a lot of problems. So it's like a web, right? You need to find that solution in that web somewhere.
Understood. This was a fabulous conversation, Antriksh, which brings us to our last section. We really believe that finance leaders sometimes take themselves too seriously. So this last section is meant to be silly by design. It's a rapid fire question where you need to say the first thing that comes to mind without overthinking. So your go-to before a big meeting, is it tea or coffee?
Tea.
For a particularly tough conversation, maybe say an appraisal that might not go very well, do you prefer an email or do you prefer talking to your reportee face to face?
Face to face, no emails.
Okay.
I can give my peace of mind to them.
Right. I think then your reportee would probably prefer the emails in that scenario. What is one app that you can't get through your workday without?
What is one app? No, I don't have any apps.
Really? You're able to function without being a slave to your mobile?
I can. It's work, yes. Personal life, different.
Okay. But nothing that comes to mind that, I'm not talking about the general, social media, doom scrolling, but anything else that you think? So for me, it's the New York Times app where you can play the daily mini crossword, and you can play Sudoku, and you can play connections, and you can play strands, these silly word games. So anything like that for you? It doesn't have to be social media or work related.
See, I think it's more of a, if you want that, so it'll more of a news, which I need to get that early in the morning. So because I work in the region, so the regional news, Indian news, world news, somehow that needs to have, because I don't want to come to an office knowing what has not happened in the world.
Right, of course. Do you prefer cycling in the city or do you prefer going, off the track?
No, I prefer going off the track, but I don't go off the track. I have to cycle in the city.
All right. You've worked in so many cities and so many geographies. What is your favorite city to work in? What has been your favorite city?
I think from a personal front, I think Zambia, Lusaka has been my favorite. It's a fantastic...
Why so?
I think, I'm not sure you've been to Africa, but if you've been to Africa and lived there for some time, I think the first impression of Africa is very wrong with everybody. But if you work in Africa and live there for some time, I think you can't leave that place. It is so nice. The climate is fantastic. Foods is because you don't have any adulteration in anything. Okay, it's not a great developed place in Lusaka, but I think from a personal front, I think it's a fantastic place to live in. From a professional front, I think Dubai has been a blessing, where I see a lot of development happening. And not once, I think it happens at least, I think every 2 days, 3 days, we see something new coming in there. So those two cities, I think, have been great ones.
Understood. What is one item or memento or tchotchke that you always keep on your desk?
I always keep on my desk. That's my earphones.
Oh. Okay. Got it. And finally, what is one, even though the podcast is called CFOs Not Talking Finance, what is one finance concept that you wish more non-finance folks really understood?
I think in terms of cash flows, I believe a lot of non-finance people don't understand how cash flows work. So that's something I think they should be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Antriksh. It was absolutely fabulous talking with you. I think we covered a range and a host of topics, right from hospitality to how you manage group level strategy, how you get into a flow state, the importance of exercise. We spoke about finding something that kind of grounds you and gives you purpose. So we've covered a lot of topics. We had a great time. I hope you had a good time as well.
Yeah, ma'am. It was very, very, very nice speaking to you, and in fact, coming up with a lot of thoughts across the many years I've worked. I think it was quite a pleasure speaking to you, and I think I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Antriksh. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.